午後のセッションを始めます。まず最初の1時間、IronRuby What's in it for Rubyists? Shay Friedman さんです。
Thank you. Thank you. So you're all for IronRuby, right? You're in the right room, right? Yeah, nice. So let me introduce myself. I'm Shay Friedman. I'm co-founder of a company named Code Value. I'm a Microsoft MVP. How many of you know what a Microsoft MVP is? Raise your hand. Yeah, you couldn't care less, right? I'm also the author of IronRuby Unleashed, and you can contact me by email, shay@ironshay.com, my Twitter account, IronShay, or my blog, ironshay.com. Now, we gathered here to talk about IronRuby. But I'd like to start with a different subject, which is the computer gadget picking algorithm that I have found out going on here in the RubyKaigi conference. You all have this array of items, which is MacBook, iPhone, or iPad, and what you do, you just select one or more. Now, I'm a bit different. You see, I have a Dell here, God forbid, and I also have, this is my Sela phone. I think they call it a dumb phone, right? It's not smart, so, but it works, by the way, no bugs. Now, if that's not enough, what I'm going to talk to you about today is Microsoft and Microsoft technologies. And this is when it gets scary for me, because when I go to .NET conferences and I say Ruby, I'm afraid they're just going to take me and throw me out the window. And here I come and say Microsoft and put the big logo there, and now I'm afraid you're going to take me and throw me out the window. But I'm lucky because there are no windows here, so it's okay for now. But I'm here to talk about what you can benefit from this bridge between .NET and Microsoft and the Ruby world, because this is what IronRuby is about, bridging IronRuby, bridging the Ruby world and the .NET world. Now, I know we all like to hate Microsoft and we like to say Microsoft is evil and stuff, but Microsoft has done some pretty good stuff lately. For example, Windows Vista. No, I'm just kidding. Windows 7 is a pretty solid operating system. Visual Studio, I know you love to hate Visual Studio, but it's a pretty good IDE. And also the .NET Framework, which is a kind of a big and have a lot of potential, because it has a lot of features that you can take advantage of right now because we have IronRuby. Now, the technology that I really like from Microsoft is, of course, IronRuby, because I was a .NET guy, 100%. I was coding C# all day long, and I really liked it. But I was the frog in the, how do you say that? In the well, because I didn't know there is an ocean outside. And IronRuby opened me this ocean of languages. And I found out that the great thing about IronRuby, and Ruby actually, is that it's fun. It's really fun to work with. And IronRuby just made me love Ruby, and I hope IronRuby will make you love, or do not love, but just like the .NET Framework, because it has a lot of potential for you. I'd like to start with saying what IronRuby is, describing it. So the first thing is that IronRuby is the Ruby implementation on top of the .NET framework. Now, how many of you use the .NET framework? Okay. And how many of you have used IronRuby, actually used it? Yeah, 3, 4, 5. Okay, nice. Now, the main goal of IronRuby is to provide seamless integration between the .NET world and the Ruby world. This means that we can call from our Ruby code, we can call .NET objects and use them and take advantage of them. And from .NET, from C#, for example, I can take advantage of Ruby libraries, for example, Cucumber or testing frameworks or Rails. We can take advantage of them now from the .NET environment. And this is the real power of IronRuby. Now, I'd like to show you a quick demo. When you install IronRuby, you have this this is a simple IRB. You also have IIRB for a real IRB in IronRuby, but this is the simple one. Now, here you can immediately do something like system Windows forms. Yes, and it just works. And now you can take advantage of that. If you do not know, system Windows forms is the assembly of .NET that you can create UI with that. This is the kind of the old technology. We'll talk about the new one later. So now we can do just include system Windows forms, which is the namespace of .NET. And namespaces are converted to modules in IronRuby. And let's just form.new and f.text equals hello RubyKaigi, and b equals button.new, create a new button, and let's do text equals click me, yes, and b.click, click is the event of the button, so when it's clicked this will be called, and what we do here, we just pass it a block. So SE, these are the parameters, and message box.show arigato, yes, and f.controls.add b f.show dialog, yes. Okay, so this is a hello world. Now, you saw it's actually Ruby. There's not so much .NET here because IronRuby lets you do something like that, and I want you to see that because, well, this is huge, right? You always wanted a huge console. Yeah, okay, this is good. So look here. This is, of course, an assembly of .NET, which you're taking advantage of in Ruby. And here we just set a property of a .NET property. And as I said, we subscribe to an event here, a .NET event. And here we call a method. So it's very seamless integration. This is what we wanted to achieve. Now, you can see that, for example, in the show dialog there, you see that it says show dialog with lowercase letters and an underscore, which is the Ruby convention of writing methods, method names. Now, this is another feature of IronRuby which does the translation for you. Because in .NET, you would call this method with a capital S and a capital D without the underscore. So you can just use the Ruby conventions because IronRuby does the translation to Ruby conventions. So this is really nice. And let's continue. Yes. So we saw that it was an implementation on top of the .NET framework. It also runs on Mono. which means that it's kind of cross-platform. I say kind of because IronRuby was meant to be run on Windows. The main target was to create IronRuby in order for it to be the top choice of Ruby implementations in Windows. However, there is a guy in the Mono team that is responsible for making IronRuby runs on Mono too. So it does run on Mac and it does run on Linux and everywhere Mono runs. So if you want, you can just go and play with that. How many of you use Mono? Just only one? Yeah, okay, quite a bit. Now, IronRuby 1 was released about 4 months ago in April. And this is the specs. You can't see that a lot. But it says that in total, IronRuby passes about 85% of the Ruby spec tests. Now, you can see that the language test, it's on the left there, it says a little above 98%, which is kind of nice. We're going for the, we're on the top there. But what got everything down is the library implementation, which is about 75%. But it's getting better all the time. So I think we're about 80% right now. So we're getting better there. However, IronRuby 1 is compatible with Ruby 1.8.6, which is kind of old. And we're working right now on IronRuby 1.1, which will be compatible with IronRuby 1.9.2. And if you download the trunk of IronRuby and compile it, you will get all the syntax of Ruby 1.9.2 already implemented there. However, it's still not released, and it will be released soon, I guess weeks or months, but we will get there. Another important thing about IronRuby is that it is open source. And the best man to talk about open source in Microsoft is someone from Microsoft. So I'd like to introduce Shozo, and he will take and tell you about open source in Microsoft. Thank you. Thank you.
マイクロソフトの新井と申します。私の方ではですね、簡単にマイクロソフトがオープンソースに対してどういうふうに取り組んでいるかっていうのをお話しさせていただきたいと思います。で、今後ろのスライドにですね、いろいろオープンソースのライセンスで取り組んでいるものがパラパラと出てきています。で、なぜマイクロソフトがこんなことをやってるかというと、一番大きな理由はお客様の要望です。結局以前と違いまして、やはり Linux を含めていろんなものをお客様が使われています。で、そうするとそれぞれを相互にうまく組み合わせて使いたいっていう要望をたくさんもらうわけですね。で、そのために例えば彼がお話をしている IronRuby でそういったものであるとか、それから IronPython、 そういったさまざまなものを一生懸命頑張って作ってるっていう理由になります。で、それをじゃあ、今回 IronRuby の方が Apache ライセンス 2.0 に変わりました。で、ただそういうふうなことも含めてですね、マイクロソフト自身はMS パブリックライセンスっていったものを OSI で認めてもらっております。で、その Apache ライセンス 2.0 に変わった経緯でいうと、その当時のプログラムマネージャーのジミーがですね、MSPL はメジャーじゃないと。で、困る人いますかっていうのをコアデブのメーリングリストに投げてました。で、そういうふうな形で公開をしているものですから、お客様の要望がある限りはずっと続けていくっていうのが今ある私たちマイクロソフトの基本的なコミットメントになります。で、これは今後もですね、大量のマンパワーが割けるかっていうと、それはまた何とも言えないんですけれども、ただ必ずやっていく、お客様の要望がある限りやっていくっていうことは言えると思います。そうしましたらまたシャイの方に変わります。
Thank you. Okay, so we've gone and seen what IronRuby was, and now let's see what's in it for you. What you can do with IronRuby to really make something out of it. Now, the main things I'm going to talk about is how you can take advantage of Microsoft's technologies with IronRuby for different scenarios. So the first one I want to talk about is the Windows Presentation Foundation, or WPF. Now, WPF is a really complex presentation framework, and it is not complex in terms that it's hard to really write it. It can do really complex stuff, UI stuff, but kind of easy for the developer, so it's really a really nice solution. However, as it says in the name, Windows, it's only for Windows. As far as I know, Mono doesn't support WPF, so if you now need to write a desktop application and you want to use Ruby for that, but the desktop application is directed only for Windows, you'd probably want to check that. The idea of WPF is that you have two files. One is for the presentation, one is for the code. Now, the presentation is written in something called XAML, which is XAML. And it's kind of something like HTML, if we can compare it to, because you have the HTML, which is for the UI, and you have other language that just runs the logic. Now, XAML is XML, okay, and you just describe the UI with XAML, and then you just write your code with IronRuby. So, for example, I have a demo. Let's stop that. Okay, so you can see I have 4 files here. This is the entire application. 2 RB files, which are Ruby, main.rb and twitter.rb, and 2 XAML files. Now, the main.rb file includes the entire code of the application. The twitter.rb file is just a file I created. It's a small library to call Twitter. You can understand what the demo is about right now. Yeah. So let's just run it, main.rb. And what you get, these are the top 10 Twitter trends right now. And what you can do is just click rising icons. Yes, looks promising. And you click view trend tweets, yes. And it shows you the tweets. Now, this is kind of a complex thing to achieve in WinForms, if you haven't tried, because you have a dynamic list here, and every item of the list has an image with a shadow underneath. And the tweet, and underneath, there is the name of the sender. And it's kind of hard to achieve in WinForms, and in WPF it's pretty easy. And all I needed to do to really achieve that, let's open the, let's close the application first. And this is the entire code of the application, excluding the Twitter library, and it's about 106 lines. Not a lot of lines to do something like that, which is kind of nice. And it doesn't, I'm not going to go deep on that, but it doesn't get too much complicated. And this just gives you the ability to really create rich UI applications on Windows using Ruby, which is kind of cool, I think. Gives value. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. The next thing I want to talk about is Silverlight. Silverlight, if you do not know, it's something like Flash. It's a competitor for Flash. And it's actually a subset of WPF. if you know WPF, you know Silverlight, because they reduce the amount of functions and amount of possibilities you can do in WPF and just adjusted that to the web. Now, the nice thing about Silverlight is that it can run on all browsers and it can run on all platforms. Now, actually, it can't run on all browsers. I thought about it this morning. Do you know Lynx? Yeah? Just remember this morning. Yes, this is Lynx. It's a text-based browser from, I guess, the 90s or 80s something. So Silverlight will not run here. Okay? Do not try. Yes, so with IronRuby, we can run Silverlight applications. And we can write Silverlight application from top to bottom entirely in IronRuby. We do not need C# or something like that. So, for example, there is something here. Well, it's a lot of code, but something that is called Chiron. And Chiron is a development web server which will run your Silverlight application. Now, you do not need this in production. You do something else. You just import everything inside a Silverlight ZAP file, which is kind of a zip, an archive file. But just for development, you do not need to do that every time. So you just use the Chiron. And when it runs on port 2060. And we can just go there, HTTP localhost 2060. And there is an index. Now, this is a Silverlight application, not too fancy, but it is running on IronRuby and IronRuby alone. And as you can see at the bottom, there is a console. This is an IronRuby console, and you can just play with Ruby there or do whatever you want. For example, let's do hello dot multiply by 5. So yes, we get the idea. We can do that. We can play with Ruby there. Another cool thing here, you can actually play with the UI. So wait, I have this. Do not read it. No. Yes. Enter. Yes. I'm not sure what it means. I think it says hello. Yes. I'm not sure. Yes. Anyway, so you can really play with everything here, and you can do this with IronRuby. And again, the code here is really not complicated. And actually, this application is the template application when you create a new Silverlight IronRuby-based Silverlight application. And there is a really nice simple utility that you just run. It creates this template, and you can just run and do whatever you want, create your Silverlight applications. Now, Silverlight, it can run IronRuby. It can also run IronPython. And the nice thing is that Microsoft took this one step farther, because Silverlight also can interact with JavaScript. So they did something really nice, and they created a project named Gestalt. Now, has anyone here learned psychology? Ooh, nice. Yes, developers, you can't expect them to. Yes. So Gestalt was a psychological trend in Germany or something like that about a century ago. And I have no idea why they called it Gestalt, but it turned out to be a pretty cool project. So maybe it just blows out your mind. This is why it's related to psychology. Now what I'm going to do is just click here. And this is my congratulator. Yes, it's very, very fancy. I write here my name. Click congrat. Yeah, it says hello, Shay. Are you nervous? Are you stressed to know what happens after I click OK? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Now, for the English speakers, I don't know what it says too, so do not worry. Now, this would be rather simple to get done in JavaScript, right? But we have love-hate relationship with JavaScript, right? We love to hate it. It's a better phrase. Now, let's look at the source here. Let's do that. See that? Ooh, yes. This is Ruby instead of JavaScript. This is entirely Ruby code, replacing JavaScript. See, we have some event handler for the click event, and we do an alert, and we set the inner HTML. It's entirely a replacement for JavaScript. Now, how it works? This works because, let's go up here. See that? dlr.js. Yes. Do not mind that. Only the dlr.js. This JavaScript is the library of Gestalt. And what it does, it adds a hidden Silverlight object to your page. And what this Silverlight object does, it goes through the DOM, everything that's written in the HTML file, and looks for script language equals Ruby or txt/Ruby, and just executes everything inside using Silverlight. So this is the idea here, pretty simple. And you can just replace JavaScript. So it's like a hello Ruby and bye-bye JavaScript, if you will. So it's really a pretty cool solution for Microsoft. Okay. Now, I don't know if you know, but Silverlight is now used for another thing, and this is Windows Phone 7. Now, Windows Phone 7 is going to be released soon, and I guess it will be here sometime next year. And the nice thing about it is that you can write IronRuby applications that run on Windows Phone, entirely in IronRuby. Well, I'm kind of bluffing here. It's not entirely in IronRuby. You will have to create a C# project first. Just call your IronRuby file, and that's it. But from there, you're just writing Ruby code. And it's kind of cool because you do not need to do anything else. You just use Ruby, and you just code in phones, which is kind of cool. I have this also here. This is the emulator for Windows Phone. And you can see this is an IronRuby-driven application, and it has the kind of a console. You just write the code there and click Run, and it runs your Ruby code. If I go ahead and run, then it just executes. You can also go here and just type code on your phone keyboard, which is really fun, I guess. So this is very, very powerful, I think, because just use Ruby, which is really cool. Okay, yes. And now to another thing, which is more Ruby-like, and this is Rails. Does IronRuby runs Rails? Well, IronRuby runs Rails. IronRuby 1 runs Rails 2.3.5 and 2.3.8, and IronRuby 1.1 will run Rails 3, hopefully. The idea, and I think maybe the reason why you would want to use IronRuby to run Rails is when you want to run Rails applications in IIS, the Windows Internet Information Services or something like that. So if you want to run Rails on Windows, this would be kind of a good option. Now, IronRuby.rake, this is what you're looking for. This is a rake implementation written on top on ASP.NET. Now, this, if you know, ASP.NET is an integral part of IIS, from IIS 6 or 7 or something like that. So it runs more naturally on IIS. And what you get from IronRuby.rake is that you can run Rails applications naturally on IIS, because until now you had something that is called FastCGI, and it was not the natural thing you would go for. And ASP.NET is entirely Microsoft, and everything is well behaved there, so you would want to go there. However, IronRuby.rake is currently in beta. So I guess it would be out soon, because there are not so much of bugs right now. And you can just use it and test it if you want. And IronRuby.rake for Rails free, I'm not sure when we will get it. I guess it will take some time, because first IronRuby 1.1 should get out. So this is a good solution if you're really willing to run Rails on Windows. Are you willing to? Yes, anyway. So the next thing is the next big thing out of Microsoft, which is the Microsoft Cloud, Windows Azure. And Shozo will introduce this to you.
はい、ですね、ちょっと Windows Azure にお話をちょっとさせていただく前に、IRC でちょっと流れたことを2、3点ほど疑問を答えるという意味で、まず一つは簡単なやつで、リクワイヤーですけれども、変じゃないです。もう Ruby 完全互換になってます。っていうのがまず一つですね。で、もう一つ、ライセンスが混じる、ディストリビュートの時の、っていうお話がちょっと流れてたんですけれども、マイクロソフトがですね、一緒にさせていただいた、例えばこの IronRuby のプロジェクト、それと IronPython のプロジェクト、あと DLR のプロジェクトっていったものは、外部のコントリビューターからコードをいただいてます。で、それで、じゃあマイクロソフトの中の人間が何をやってるかっていうと、他社のライセンスをですね、間違って使ってないかどうかというのをチェックしたりしてます。で、そのチェックが通ったものの形になった時に初めて誰でも出せるようダウンロードできる形で公開をしてます。で、当然ソースリポジトリにはその都度上がってますけれども、まとまった形になっている場合はそういうチェックが通っているということです。ですのでマイクロソフトがそういう形で出しているものに関してはまずライセンス混じることがないっていう点だけちょっと覚えていただければなと。で、Azureで、こちらの方に関して言うと一言で言うのはなかなか難しくて、で、大きくは2つだけ覚えていただきたいんですけれども、一つはコンピュートサービスっていうのがあります。要は CPU の曲がりっていう考え方です。で、もう一つはストレージのサービスっていう単純にこの2つがあります。で、ストレージサービスに関して言うとマイクロソフトの技術にかかわらずどんなものでも使えます。で、なんでかって言えばレストだからです。で、レストですので実際にあるキーバリューストアを含めてそういったものを全部使うことができる。で、あとコンピュートサービスに関して言うと実際にですね MRI を使った Ruby on Rails を動かしたっていう人たちもいます。要はUI はありませんけれども Win32API 呼べちゃうんですよ。ですからそれを使うことでさまざまなものを動かすことができます。で、同じようなことをやって動かしているのがあと PHP も結構非常に多いです。ワードプレスが実際動いています。で、あとまだ私もできてませんが、ひょっとしたら帰り聞いていただくと分かるかもしれませんけれども IronRuby だとネイティブの .NET 環境ですのでそのまま Ruby on Rails がサクッと動く可能性が非常に高いっていうふうにですね使っていただくには使った分だけのお支払いっていうのがかかりますけれども、ただ Windows だけの世界じゃないっていう Windows Azure っていうのは 非常にオープンに誰でもアクセスできるっていう状態で作られているっていったことを覚えていただければなと思います。Please, Shay.
Oh. Thank you. Well, okay, so we went through everything. And so we saw WPF, and we saw Silverlight and Gestalt, and we also saw Windows Phone 7 and Windows Azure. And all of these add you value. You can really use them, take advantage of them, and everything within the Ruby boundaries. You can use Ruby to do that. And I think it's kind of cool, and I think this is what IronRuby is all about. It adds value. It adds value both to you guys, the Ruby developers. It adds value both to the .NET developers on the other side of the ocean, or whatever we call it. Now, if you want to start, this is where you want to go. First is the official site, ironruby.net. This is where you go to download IronRuby. And there are some documentation there too, if you want. The other one, the second there, is the mailing list. If you want to ask questions, have a discussion, this is where you want to go. And also on Twitter, where we just have a search on IronRuby, so you can just throw your questions there. Someone will answer you. We finished pretty early, so we have time for questions. Anyone?
あ、日本語で言ったら誰か訳していただくこと可能ですか。一つ質問がありまして、例えばなんかケーススタディっていうかやり方を教えてほしいんですけど、大体の流れを教えてほしいんですけど、やり方の流れを、私が、IronRuby を使ってソフトウェアを作りました。それを例えば企業のお客さんに配りたいとしたときに、何をどういう形で配布するとお客さんのところで動きますかというその流れを教えていただきたいんですけど。
His question is, he wants to know how to distribute. His question is, he wants to know how to distribute the application you develop in IronRuby.
Generally, or one of what we just shown? Do you talk about IronRuby scripts in general, or Silverlight or something like that?
すみません。ウェブアプリケーションはなんとなく分かったんですけど、シルバーライト、ごめんなさい。最初にやってたWPF のWindows Forms を使うようなアプリケーション。
The application using like WPF, you know, like
Okay.
you have Windows Forms or such and such.
Okay, so first of all, in order to run IronRuby, you have to install .NET framework. Do you want to translate?
Okay, yeah. まず.NET フレームワークをインストールする必要があります。
Now, after you install .NET framework, you can just, in order to run, you have two options. The first one is just copy and paste IronRuby with your application.
まず2つやり方があります。インストールした.NET をインストールした後ですね。まずはもうその作ったコードをそのままお客さんのコンピューターにて実行することです。
And the second one is there is something that is called IronRuby Embedded, which is an open source project, and you can just wrap it all into a single executable file.
2つ目の方法としては IronRuby Embed っていうプロジェクト、同じくオープンソースのプロジェクトがあって、それを作ったアプリケーションを1つのファイルにして配布して実行していただくことができます。
追加の質問で、そのサイズってどれくらいになるんですか？
What would be the size of the file size? エンベッドにしたときに、
エンベッドの方で。
when you embed the A, it depends on, but typically.
Yeah, I guess the smallest size you'll get is 2 megabytes. Yes, this is the smallest size.
2、3メガバイトからだそうです。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
日本語で失礼します。Ruby 会議でこんなこと聞くのもちょっとどうかと思うんですけど、さっきの DLRJS すごく面白いと思ったんですけど、あれって Ruby 以外のドットネットで動く言語をなんかスクリプトタグにかけるんですか？
About the DLRJS, can you write in other language than the Ruby?
Can you write?
The DLR, the script, and you showed the example writing code in Ruby, and can you write in other languages?
Okay. So everything I've shown you is mainly about Ruby because we are in a Ruby conference, but it can be done with every language in the .NET framework, including the dynamic languages in the .NET framework, which are currently IronPython, which is from Microsoft. There is an implementation for JavaScript, IronJS. There is C#, of course, and VB.NET if you want. And there are some others, but they're not really production mode or something like that.
ドットネットフレームワーク上で書かれている限りは動きます。で、それ例えば IronPython とか、なんだっけ C# も動きますし、で JavaScript も少しちょっと制限があるそうなんですけど動きます。で、動かす VB とかでも大丈夫だそうです。あと他はあんまり本番用ではないようです。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
日本語で失礼します。引き続き今のゲシュタルトについて質問なんですけど、今まずモノについてはおよびムーンライトについてはあんまりバギーで動かないって話があったんですけど、で次のゲシュタルトは今もうこれも多分シルバーライト上なんで Windows と Mac でしか動かないと思うんですけど、これらのやっぱりムーンライトでかっちり動くようにする予定はあるのかないのかっていうのもちょっと聞かせていただきたいなと思うんですけど。
The question is about the Gestalt.
The what?
I can explain. The Gestalt.
Oh, Gestalt.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. 今ごめんなさい。ムーンライト上でしっかり動くかっていうことですか？そうですね。ゲシュタルトがムーンライト上でごめんなさい、ちょっとあんまりその辺理解できてないので、ムーンライト上でしっかり動くかっていうことがご質問です。About the Gestalt, is there any plans run Gestalt on Moonlight platform on production environment? I mean, how you say there? Is it any plans to Gestalt on Moonlight platform be production ready?
Moonlight is the Silverlight thing for other platforms, or?
I'm sorry, I don't know about Moonlight, so I can't say. But, ごめんなさい、ムーンライトってどんなものなんですか？
だから、今ドットネットの Linux のポートがモノって話ありましたよね。
ドットネットの Linux のものですね。はい。
シルバーライトって出てきましたよね。
はい。
それのモノ上で動くやつがムーンライト。
Okay. The Silverlight runs on the .NET technology, right? The Moonlight is run on the mono technology.
I don't know, but I just don't know. I don't want to just give the wrong answer.
ちょっとムーンライトのことにあんまりついて知らないからちょっと答えることができないそうです。
Right, I'm not familiar with Moonlight so much.
私で分かる範囲でお答えさせてもらうと、ムーンライトに関して言うと、IronRubyの持っている機能は 100% まで動きます。ただ、ムーンライトとシルバーライトで動かないものってやっぱりあります。で、それはシルバーライトが提供している機能に対してムーンライトの実装が全てを持ってないからっていう理由になります。で、IronRuby が 100% 動くって申し上げているのは、ムーンライトのチームの方にそのままの実装がすぐ渡ってます。で、彼らの方でテストをかけてもらってるから動くって言えるわけです。で、ものに関してもやはりドットネットフレームワークが100のライブラリを持ってたとすると、その100のうちどれが今移植されて動くようになってるかっていうリストがあるんですね。で、それを確認していただく必要性がやっぱりありますという形になります。
ありがとうございます。
Do you know how fast is Gestalt, how fast or slow is Gestalt compared to native JavaScript? Is it practically fast?
You could see it here. It's pretty fast. But you must remember that it runs on Silverlight, so I guess you will have performance implications because you run with Silverlight at the middle. You have another layer there. But I guess you wouldn't want it to do Gestalt if you're really into performance there in such really really complicated things in JavaScript. So you wouldn't want to go to Gestalt. But for most of the things you do, I think it's a pretty good solution.
Okay, thank you.
IronRuby で作られてるかなり有名になったようなアプリケーション、もしくはこれはちょっと面白いと思うようなアプリケーションが何かありましたら紹介くださいますでしょうか。
His question is, do you know if there is any application written in like a major or famous application written in IronRuby?
There isn't. There is no such application right now. There are several different projects, not famous, that use IronRuby not to build the entire application, but to extend their current applications.
特に有名なのとかはないそうですけど、なんかこう今のこのアプリケーションが例えばあって、それを例えば拡張したりするようなものは IronRuby で書かれたりするのはあるそうです。
However, there is a really big application which is similar to Excel or something like that, a spreadsheet application written in IronPython. So,
Excel のようなアプリケーションが、IronPython では書かれているそうです。まだないみたいですね。Thank you.
okay, so thank you very much. Arigato.